Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing fantastic. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin. So, overnight, we had a really nice move up um, where we basically just we did offer a little bit of a discount in the evening. I was looking for a deeper discount, for myself to enter, but didn't quite get it. But it's just been kind of ripping to the upside now. So, that being said, we're kind of at a point of resistance, in my opinion. I did mention yesterday that we could get to that 66.7 level, and we did meet that level. We went above it. We almost hit about 67,000. I don't believe we got there. Yeah, 66,926. So we didn't quite get there, but we almost did, right? So really, honestly, guys, like I am. It's one of those things where you have to patiently wait for your model, right? And this is kind of a good time to practice, being patient and really waiting to see what you want to see in the market. Obviously, if you're already in a bigger trade, like on the 4 hour and the 6 hour, this is, something that you can either take profit or you can stay in, just kind of wait for this thing to consolidate. We are above the 8 hour 200 MA. However, the 21 MA is all the way down at 64,623. So definitely, not quite um, going to get a golden cross just yet. It's going to take a while. Okay. So, you know, this is not something where you want to just ape into longs and just hope for the best, right? This is, you got to play this strategically. Make sure that, you're seeing your model, you're figuring out where you want to enter. For me, I am looking for deeper discounts, waiting for liquidity pools to get smashed into, to the downside, that type of thing. So, in reality, this is a very good time to, like I said, practice patience with your model. The 8 hour, like I said, getting above the 200 MA, good sign, but again, 21 is too far. 6 hour, you are getting farther from the 21, but definitely looking bullish. Your 4 hour, obviously would be nice to come back to the 21 there. I did put a few small order blocks here, and you'll be able to see them better on the smaller time frames, but I am targeting some of these areas for retracement, if we can get it. So these are some areas that I'm looking at. Um, let's see, the 2 hour, yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting that tweezer top if it's going to close like that. It did just open about 30 minutes ago. 1 hour, kind of the same thing. You want to see price using 66,482 as support, so I am keeping this line there. If it falls through it, there's a decent chance that you're going to come back down, test some of these areas down here, even the 65,186. So just keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the 15. Yeah, so I mean, we are getting that tweezer top there. It's 15's been very bullish because price has been basically hugging in that 21 MA. So that's definitely your Sammy special there, the Crypto Lifer special. But like I said, guys, I mean, just practicing your discipline, right, is literally like the most important thing right now in this market. Especially, you got to keep in mind that we have no Fed folders this week except for Thursday, I believe. So there's nothing to really drive price other than, if there's any um, true social posts by Trump or anything like that. So I definitely, would say to be very cautious in the longs that you're entering or even the shorts because you have to think, even when it comes to shorting this, you are shorting now where we've gotten golden crosses on the meso time frames and we're getting accepted by the 8 hour 200 MA currently. So there's a decent there, there's also the chance that this thing just rips up to like 68, 70,000 and you're going to be in a huge net negative position if not get stopped out, right? So, the best thing to do is just honestly, like what my mentor has told me is just like sit on your hands, do nothing, and just wait for price to become more obvious to you. Um, this was, a decent place to enter. However, I was looking for a deeper discount, like I said. So, this is definitely like, you could have long this, really came up here and, taken profit all the way up here, but you'd have to have been convicted that, Monday's this high was basically not going to hold, right? It was going to get taken. And I was a little bit worried because, you don't want to see price pump right away on a Monday. So, yeah, it's just we're getting a very, very bullish move, in a bear market. So just kind of keep that in mind. We're still not out of the woodwork yet. We definitely, for me, on the bigger time frames, I want to see price get above 70,000 before I start making any sort of bias switches in my head, or before I get more convicted as to where we are. Now, the a big indicator is going to be the daily 200 MA, so that's 72,818. If we can get above there, get that golden cross, then you have to question whether or not the bear market is over, right? So this is going to be my biggest indication as to whether or not the bear market is over. Again, cross above the 200, and then also getting that 21 or the 50 to cross over, which is going to take time. They are starting to bundle together, the 21 and the 50, but you're going to have to get the 80, the 100, and the 200 all bundled up close to each other, which we haven't really seen anything like that since back in May, where we almost got above the 200. But it's going to be a very good indication, once we get above the 200, it'll be more obvious that we're exiting the bear market. Okay. That being said, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity. So, taking a look at our 4-hour liquidity pool here, we did really dive into that red liquidity pool on the 25x, and we took it, and we even went above it, above and beyond it. If you check off the 10x, we do have a lot of this up to 70,000, so it does allude to the fact that we could, just drive straight up if we wanted to. Um, I would like to see a lot more consolidation, because the more consolidation that we see, the more potential that price will actually get more of a follow through even past 70,000. So for me, I would like to see more like more basically consolidation and then follow through. But for right now, this is definitely a bullish sign. Now, obviously, your bearish sign, and what I'm kind of wondering is if I'm thinking that maybe the Thursday event, the Fed folder, it may reverse price for the week. So since we've been pumping all week, I don't know if we're going to pump the rest of the day through tomorrow, but if we do, I may expect price to reverse on that Fed folder. It could give a good excuse to reverse price. So just kind of be aware of that on Thursday. But for right now, definitely bullish side of consolidation here. Taking a look at the hour. So the 1 hour here, you got some up to 67.5, so it could come up to 67.5, top out, and then come back down. The hard thing about this is that, obviously you're starting to build up more liquidity below us as well, all the way even down like we've been talking about to that 61K area. Even getting the bounce off of this area right here on 64.5 would be beneficial on the 1 hour, which would be around the 1 hour 200 MA. But I'm basically patiently waiting for some sort of retracement to even, the 1 hour 200 MA, or, below it, before I get into another entry. Um, yeah, this does look like we could easily visit even, down to 62 140 again, 61,000. Um, like I said, guys, just be careful with both sides, either side that you're playing, either long or short. Um, 15-minute, even your trend indicator is at a 0 with everything, which is kind of suspicious. You would think that it'd be extremely bullish, but it's not. Um, yeah, 15-minute says we have legs to go higher if you take out some of that 50x. We do have the aggregation on. Let me see if I decrease it. Yeah, decreasing the aggregation does show 100x to about 65.6 on the 15. You got some up to 67.6 for the 100x, but it's really going to depend. Like I said, I want to see more of that discount. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. Yeah, I mean, guys, honestly, like I could see us easily eat a lot of this liquidity to the upside, start just keep going up. We have the orders on pin market to do that, all the way up to 68,000. We are starting to build up orders to the downside to 65.8. So really, it's kind of framing both directions here. You have this little bit of liquidity that we could come and take and then come back up. I kind of want to see how price reacts to this 5 minute 200 if we can get back down here. Um, I'm not going to necessarily take this, but it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this is good enough or if it's going to come and just start wiping some of this liquidity out right here. Let's take a look at the simple map and see where we're at on there. I'm curious. So, yeah, I mean, we're right next to the major liquidity pools on the short side. So basically, the longs are getting ready to wipe this out, right? Um, if we were to start to take some of this out, it looks like we would have some issues probably around 67 260, because that's where you start getting kind of a break in volume up more to the upside here. I would say 67 230, 67 260, we could get a possible issue. And I think, does that match up with any 200 MA at all? Let's take a look. Uh, Not really. We're above the 10 hour and the 8 hour. And then the 12 hour is way far away, just like the daily. Yeah, so nothing really there. I wonder if it's more of a bearish 786 retracement. Let's take a look. 69, 68. So it could be something like this here. Let's see. That's about 67.60 from this little impulse, which that's kind of a random one. I wouldn't really put too much weight on that. It is, I believe, the bottom though of this order block, so that could definitely be, that's 67.5, so that could be a potential that you could see some rejection off of right there for right now, if we were to keep coming upward. So watch 67.5, I would say, for today, if we were to keep going to the upside. To the downside, what I would ideally like to see is, obviously we could just get a bounce off of 65.8, which is right about there. But for me, I would either want to see a bounce off of 65 186 or getting down and taking out some of these order blocks, 65,000 or down to 64.7, which is kind of around your weekly open. So both of these are kind of hovering around your weekly open area. That's kind of what I'm targeting to the downside. So those are kind of going to be my numbers I'm going to be watching for today. Um, let's take a real quick look at the swing time frame. Yeah, I mean, you're just right next to that. 67.2 once again. So it looks like if we do go up, we might have some problems around 67.250, which would be kind of front running the bottom of that order block, which makes sense. I mean, price does like to do that. Um, there is some to the downside, like there's some 100x or some 50x. Definitely easier for the market makers to quickly take that out. Not as much of a bridge really as to the upside though. But yeah, it looks like you could have, some potential to the downside since this is easy liquidity to take out all the way even up to 63.7, it looks like. If I were to zoom in, yeah, you don't really face some resistance until about 63.7. So that could easily just kind of roll over. Very interesting. So anyways, guys, I gave you my numbers. That's what I'm looking at for today. I do think we're going to have some issues. If we do keep going up, we'll probably have some issues at the bottom of this order block right here. I don't expect for us to be able to just kind of plow through this just yet. Um, One of the main reasons why is because I think that we're already starting to get overextended. And if we were to just keep plowing up, it's going to look more and more sketchy, more and more that it might reverse bearishly. So just keep that in mind as this day goes on. But anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.